fastest show in sports.
Lane Kiffin has already decided where he is going to coach football next season. Without a doubt, without question. Even though we are here before the key weekend of the season and before we get into the playoffs, I firmly believe that Lane Kiffin has already made his decision. I will say this. I believe Lane Kiffin has already decided that no way in hell is he going to LSU, because LSU is a dumpster fire right now. They've got so many problems, and also, let's not forget, this is the school that is fighting Brian Kelly, their former coach, over the money that they contracted to pay him. They signed a contract that if we get rid of you, it's a $54 million buyout, and right now they're trying to get him to go for less. Kelly has had to file a lawsuit. The school is coming in and saying, well, maybe you didn't actually get fired in the right way, and maybe there's cause involved. No. You made the deal. And the fact that LSU is not going to give him his $54 million that he has earned, that he signed for, basically leaves coaches like Kiffin with a sour taste in their mouth that maybe I can't trust these guys. So I'm going to take LSU and I'm going to move them right off to the side. Let's consider for a moment what happens this weekend. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss defeat Mississippi State. He's golden. He's heading for the college football playoffs, which he probably is anyway. But right now, he is the greatest golden child in the history of Ole Miss, and he can write his own ticket for whatever he wants. Don't ever think for a minute that Ole Miss can't compete financially with the Floridas of the world or the LSUs of the world. There's big money and there's big money boosters in every single place, specifically in the SEC. There's money here. And the money doesn't necessarily come off their books. It's not like if they sign a new coach for $50 million, that's money that they can't spend on players. Everything comes from different places. Everything comes from different sources. So it's not as if that's a problem. So take that out of the mix. He wins the game. He can set his own course. Does he decide to stay at Ole Miss? Pros and cons. Ole Miss is a great place to coach. He's made it a great place to coach. But is it a long-term place to coach? If Lane Kiffin gets players into the playoff system this year, does that attract top-notch A1 players to come to Ole Miss in the future, regardless of what they signed for? Does that mean that he can now bring in the top-notch talent? I'm not so sure. I'm still not so sure, if given a choice to play at other places in the SEC, that those big-name players will decide to go somewhere else, like a University of Florida, maybe even an LSU. Of course, Georgia's sitting in there. So many other teams that can compete and say, we're the place to go. So if he wins the game, Ole Miss wants him. But does he want Ole Miss? I'm not convinced. If he wins the game and Ole Miss hits him with an ultimatum that says you either sign with us or you leave, Lane Kiffin will leave. He's done it before. He has used teams like Florida Atlantic University and others. He has used them as stepping stones. If he wins the game, or if he loses the game, certainly, I don't think if they hit him with that ultimatum, Kiffin's going to go. Because he will then decide, well, look, all I've done for you right here, you at least got to trust me to do this. No. You give us the answer right now. You are going or you're staying. I think he goes. Which is a shame for Ole Miss, because that's going to hurt them in the bowl game. That's going to hurt them in the playoffs then. But he doesn't care. I don't trust Lane Kiffin to basically say that, yeah, I've been here and I'm going to get the job done. If he loses the game to Mississippi State and they still give him an ultimatum, he's gone. So either way, I think that depending on what happens, if Ole Miss hits him with the decision, you got to make it one way or another. Here's the ultimatum. I think he goes. And that's not because it's not a denigration of Ole Miss's program. It's not saying that it's not a good place to coach. But Lane Kiffin is one of those guys that has always looked beyond where he is. He is always looking to better himself. And I truly believe that, unfortunately, he is going to think that Ole Miss is not the place for me. There are other places I can go. I can take this to other schools that are going to pay more money, that are going to give me a better chance to win a national championship. And that's tough to understand, because Ole Miss, he's basically saying that I don't need you, I can go somewhere else. Now, where does he go? It's obvious. To me, the only alternative for Lane Kiffin is the Florida Gators. That's the place. Unlimited money, unlimited backing. You've got legacies there. You've got the possibility to win. And look what Florida has done. Florida has brought in a lot of coaches who really didn't deserve to get that shot. And they failed. They did not proceed to that national championship game. They didn't take Florida over the hump that they wanted, so they just keep getting rid of them. Lane Kiffin is going to say to himself, I'm the guy that can change things. I'm the one that brings in the potential of getting back to a national championship game. Look, it's all about ego. Lane Kiffin is just like every other coach in college football. They got a massive ego. And he's going to believe that he can take them back to the promised land. And Florida is the one that's going to say he can. My question is Lane Kiffin really the guy? And again, this is up for discussion. People are going to say, well, look what he's done at Ole Miss. Okay, let's look at what he's done at Ole Miss. And let's look at what he's done over his body of work. He's an average coach when it comes to national championship games. Okay? He's not the guy that has, and if you look at Lane Kiffin's body of work, it's not like he's got 2, 3, 4 national championships lined up. He is the flavor of the month right now. He is the hottest coach in college football. He's got the possibility, with what he's done at Ole Miss, to where he's become something very special. And people are going to hope that he continues to be that something special if they come to their school, like the University of Florida. Because there's nobody else out there. Look, if Kiffin doesn't get hired at Florida, it's going to be a second or third choice somewhere for the Gators. It's not going to be someone they want. They have honed in on Lane Kiffin. And I can tell you, because I got a lot of friends at the University of Florida, I hear a lot of what goes on back and forth. They are absolutely, completely convinced, like they were 4 times before, that Lane Kiffin is the guy who can make them a national champion. And he might. He might just be. Look, if a guy like Kiffin comes in, the other side of this is the players. Because if a player is sitting out there deciding if they want to go to Ole Miss, LSU, or Florida, and if Lane Kiffin's been hired at Florida, they're going to go to Florida. Because they're going to look at him as a guy, look what he did at Ole Miss. Look at his body of work. He has turned programs around before. He has been an excellent coach. Granted, he hasn't come up with that national championship yet, but at least he's got the possibility of doing it. So they're going to sign there. The money is going to be equal no matter where they go. To these players, the money is going to be equal at Florida, LSU, or Ole Miss. The Gators, probably going to come up with more money, though, because if you look back at their history and look back at the boosters and look back at the people that are involved there, there's hundreds of millions of dollars involved there. And I'll tell you right now, when it comes out to spending money, nobody is going to outspend the University of Florida. They're going to come up with the money for the coach and for the players. Now, as I mentioned, when it comes to the money, Kiffin's going to look at Florida and he's going to say, well, he's going to look at Florida or Ole Miss and say, I can trust these guys. I can't trust LSU because look what they're doing to Brian Kelly. And that's going to put a sour taste in his mouth and he's not going to want to go there. But I really don't know if the game this weekend, if that is the delineating factor. If Lane Kiffin, if Ole Miss loses the game, Florida's still going to want him. If they dump that game, if it's an upset, whatever, Florida is still going to want him to come be the head coach in Gainesville. And they're going to open the bank. Kiffin then is going to have to make that decision. Does he want to stay where he might win one championship, maybe none? Or does he want to go to a school where he can make a spitload of money and contend for national championships? So, again, this is all conjecture. If you get anybody in social media right now who tells you they know exactly where Lane Kiffin is going to go and where he's going to be in 2026, they're full of bullshit. They don't know. I'm just telling you what I know from looking at coaches and having covered the sport for a long time. I don't think Kiffin believes he can trust LSU at this point. I believe he knows that his future is best at either Florida or Ole Miss, one of the two. It's going to come down to ego. Because if Kiffin wants to be the guy who can create a program, who can create a legacy program out of nothing, he stays at Ole Miss. If he wants to have the best shot, and again, this is I'm not denigrating Ole Miss. I'm not saying that you can't win a national championship. Anybody can these days. The way you change coaches and the way you change players and the amount of money that you pay, you can bring anybody in and you can automatically overnight become a national championship contender. And I think Ole Miss has got the money to do it. But it still comes down to the ego of the coach. Here's where, and I'll get hammered for this, I know it, but I'll say it. If you've got a coach that has got so much riding on him right now, and there's so many people who are after him, if that coach says, I can be known as the legacy coach at Ole Miss and having brought this school some success, or I can be the head football coach at a school with a rich tradition that has a lot of money behind it, has a big fan base, has won national championships in the past, and I can be the guy to bring them back to glory. Pulling teeth here, I think he goes to Florida. That's why I think Lane Kiffin has already made up his mind. I don't know where he's going to go. I can't tell you that. We're all just speculating at this point, which is why I say don't believe all the social media platforms. But if you put me down as a betting man, which I'm really not, I suck at gambling. Well, no, wait a minute. I'm real good at craps and I'm real good at blackjack. I'm not good when it comes to betting on teams because too often I go with my heart. But on this one, I'm going to say that Lane Kiffin has made his choice. And no matter what happens in that final regular season game, I believe he goes to the Florida Gators. If he doesn't, it's going to be one of the biggest shocks in college football. If he doesn't, if he stays at Ole Miss, people at Ole Miss need to be applauded. I mean, for how they've handled it, for making sure that he stays. And I got to tell you, for the people at Ole Miss, I hope he does stay for your benefit, because it's about time that program actually got something good that happens to them. But I just don't see it happening. I think he winds up at Florida. Florida is putting all the chips and all the cash in on Lane Kiffin, and Kiffin knows it. He knows his worth. But will he shaft Ole Miss before reaching that bowl game? If you make him choose playoffs with Ole Miss, job at Florida, I think when it comes to Kiffin, not everybody, but when it comes to Kiffin, I think that decision has already been made.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.